With this horrible, deadly shooting at a Catholic school service in Minneapolis, not to mention the ongoing rhetoric against President Trump's offers to help cities out with their crime problems, how will the crime issue impact the midterms? Joining me now is Jason Miller, former senior Trump campaign advisor. Jason, great to see you. Thank you for being here. I have to say, the most despicably timed and worded comment I've seen about what's happened came from Gavin Newsom. I wish I was more surprised at that, but he said, this is just about an hour and a half ago, we cannot even make it through the first week of school without mass shootings, and the GOP will continue to do absolutely nothing while our kids are being gunned down. This is sick. Well, I would argue that posting is sick. Both the timing and the message is so awful. I can't imagine that helping him politically in any way, shape, or form. Can you?
No, and this is obviously a massive tragedy, and our hearts go out to the families and those who are impacted by the senseless killings today in Minneapolis. And just seeing the reports online about the SICKO that was behind all of this just really makes your stomach turn. And I think this really goes to the point that President Trump has been saying, is that we have to make sure that people are safe. That is literally the first rule of government. Keep people safe. And so when you look at the crime issue in the big cities, and even as you start moving out around the country in some of these blue states or areas where you have Democrats that are in charge in leadership, they don't get that the public wants to be safe. And so recent polling out shows that 80% of Republicans believe that crime is a serious issue when it comes to our big cities. But that's not really the main story. It's that even Democrats at a 60% clip believe that crime is a serious issue. And that's why people are looking at what President Trump is doing, whether it be in Washington, D.C., or what he's talking about potentially doing in Chicago, other places. They're saying, thank you, Mr. President. We need to keep people safe.
I mean, I don't want to pick apart this ex post too much because it's just a despicable thing. But he says GOP will continue to do absolutely nothing. Well, you look at everything that is being done by the president, and some things that are just related to the crime issue and directly so, like what ICE is doing, closing the border, getting ICE to kick out the worst of the worst, and then doing what he has done specifically inside the Beltway, possibly doing it elsewhere. I mean, and you see what, frankly, Democrats have been doing, moving further to the left with people like Mamdani and the guy who may be the next mayor of Minneapolis who want to get rid of cops.
Yeah, and you're exactly right on that point as well. You take a look at the polling for all of the top Democrat leaders, whether it be Nancy Pelosi, whether it be Kamala Harris, whether it be Zohran Mamdani, who hopefully will not become the next mayor of New York City. Just scary to think about how he could turn one of our greatest cities in the country on its head. But the fact of the matter is that this is who is running the Democrat Party, the AOCs of the world, the Jasmine Crockett's. This is not a very good situation. What people want are for criminals to be held accountable. They want to know that they're going to be safe, whether they're going to a restaurant, whether they're going to church, whether their children are going to school, that they're going to be protected. And so President Trump has said, as you correctly pointed out, secure the border, we're going to get the criminal illegals out of here, and no more Mr. Nice Guy, we're getting it done. And that's why you see so many people saying, this is what I voted for. I voted for someone like President Trump to keep us safe.
And just to veer how all this is affecting the Democratic Party, veer into that, in particular the money issue, you look at cash on hand with the Democrats, they're pretty close to bankruptcy right now. They got about 15 million cash in hand. To put it in perspective, the RNC has about 80 million. And they just paid off 15 million more of that debt that Kamala Harris built up, that huge over $1 billion debt that she built up. I mean, are they going to have enough money going into the midterm?
Well, I don't think so. And so we've identified the fact that the Democratic leaders are unpopular. They're on the wrong side of the issues. It's not just the crime issue where they're on the wrong side, but the fact that they opposed President Trump's middle-class tax cut, that they opposed getting rid of no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, even expanding out the child tax credit. These are all things that Democrats opposed. Of course, they opposed securing the border and these anti-crime measures that the president and other people, but this is having a real difference when it comes to the polling right now. As of this moment, President Trump and the Republicans are in a 5-point better position than they were at this point in 2017 during his first term. In fact, people might be surprised by this, but President Trump right now is more popular than George Bush or Barack Obama were at this point in their second terms. And so the money you talked about, the one big number, kind of the big, huge one, is that President Trump has now helped raise, along with the Republicans, over $1.5 billion toward the midterms. And so this, when you take a look at the fact that generic ballot is doing much better, and even some of the various conditions, the fact that Democrats are trying to, they have about 13 seats that President Trump won, that they have incumbent members in. Republicans only have to defend 3 seats where Kamala Harris won. So the conditions are there for Republicans to do historically well in the midterms, but it all goes back to the policies about keeping people safe and making sure our borders are secure, lowering taxes versus the Democrats, who, again, it's the Mamdanis and the Kamala Harris and all the rest of the folks who are a little bit too far out there. They're at the top of their ticket. So I like our position.
Although the president does talk about rebranding the big, beautiful bill, and we're gonna get to that later, but we'll have you on to talk about that some other time. Jason Miller, great to see you. Thank you for being here, Jason. Appreciate it.